Today we're talking about a topic that comes up over and over and over again, and it's one that modern dog moms are really interested in mastering. We're talking about consent and how empowering our dogs with the freedom to choose can make all the difference. It's going to be good. Stay tuned. Hi, I'm Kathy Kowalik, and I believe that our dogs connect us to the heart and soul of what really matters in life. So hang out, and we'll take a deep dive into the human-dog connection and explore strategies that will inspire you to create legendary, enlightened partnership with your dog. This is the Enlightened by Dogs podcast. Well, hello, Kathy Kowalik, your host of Enlightened by Dogs. And boy, do we have a great topic to talk to you about today. I think it's really important. We're going to be talking about consent and freedom and how a shift in our intention can change everything for our dogs and with our relationship with our dogs, and how allowing our dogs the freedom and agency to give consent as much as possible helps a deep trust and a deep understanding and a next level collaboration between us and our dogs. And so what I'm going to do is share with you a live coaching session, a snippet, a segment of a live coaching session from my Brilliant Partners Academy. One of our members, the lovely Penny, had posed a question about how to support her dog who is reactive at the vets. Now, a lot of our dogs are reactive at the vets. They're reactive to common husbandry things, like maybe grooming or nail clipping, other types of support, they're like must-dos, must-haves. And so there's like two parts to this coaching that I want to share with you, because I want to share it for two reasons. One is because I think you're going to get a lot out of the coaching in and of itself and help shift your perspective perhaps on what consent means and how we can offer consent even with procedures that are necessary and must-dos. So that's one thing. I think it'll really help you. But the other reason that I want to share this with you is because I'm on a mission. I want to bring living with dogs and partnering with dogs and collaborating with dogs and understanding and communicating with dogs to another level, into current times, into modern times, using modern science and contemporary enlightened ways of living with our beloved dogs. And so one of the ways that I do that is by supporting our Brilliant Partners Academy members through regular coaching. And we work through difficulties. We work through struggles of all types. And I want you to have the experience of what it's like to be coached. And this is just one small segment. But I want you to have the experience of what's possible that goes way beyond the podcast. I mean, I share a lot of great tips and a lot of insights and a lot of things that you can use to change your life. And many of you are, and I'm delighted. It just lights me up. And I see the amazing things that you are implementing in your life. But it's nothing like what is possible through the Brilliant Partners Academy, through the coaching, through the our library of master classes where we dive deeply into topics that are very relevant and life-changing. So I want you to have this experience. And because when I extend the invitation to join us, I want you to like raise your hand and like, you can't wait because it's that good. Okay. So we're going to share this clip from a coaching segment from Penny and her dog that is reactive at the vet. And I'm going to talk about a perspective shift that I offered to Penny. And then in addition to that, I'm going to be sharing a personal example, a personal demonstration of how I give consent, how I give the power of consent to one of my own dogs, Sue, who is cooperative with multiple daily procedures that she endures. And I want to share with you the subtlety of and the quickness and the simplicity of how we can give consent in ways that can change everything and don't take any extra time and aren't difficult and don't require any training, right? It's so much of it is a mindset shift. Okay. So I want to share this with you. And before we dub in that clip, one thing that I want to point out to you is that I speak about stepping into a role as a professional several times in this clip. And so I wanted to give you a little bit of insight into what I mean, because my brilliant partners know what I mean, but you may not know what I mean. And so basically we step into a role as a professional, like a veterinarian, a veterinary nurse, a firefighter, a doctor, an EMT, someone, a lifeguard, someone that has a professional job to do. They know their job well and they do it with no drama. So it's a no drama zone. And the level of trust that we feel from these professionals is profound, right? We literally trust them with saving our life in many cases, right? And so when you hear me speak in this coaching call segment about putting on our professional hat or stepping into our role as a professional, that's what I mean. It's no drama. Like, this is what we're doing. I'm fully here and present and support you with getting this done. And we're going to come out the other side better than before. You can trust me to have your back and let's do this. And so I would just call it it's like no drama llama, right? We just step into that no drama zone and our dogs love it when we're like that. They so appreciate that we step into that place of being intentionally professional and drama free. It means everything to them. We're role modeling so much. Okay. So keep that in mind as you hear me coach and share my story about Sue and discuss this very important topic of consent, giving our dogs the power of consent. It's going to be good. Here we go. All right, Penny says, responding to Zoe's question helped me a lot, but Lucy is still uncomfortable and scared when she goes to the vets. I've tried giving her the messages and talking to her while we wait, but it doesn't help much until I start walking her around in the little room. But because I've kept her safe, calm, and happy at home without her exposing her to anyone else, she hasn't calmed down much. Penny, so here's what I'm taking away from your question. Now, hear me out on this, okay? I know that this is not your intention. And I know that your everything you do, that your intention, your actions, the choices that you make, all the safe, I know all of that stuff that you're doing is with the best of intention for moving forward and creating that partnership lifestyle. Like, so I mean, I get that, right? So that's our starting place. That's our baseline. I know that about you. Okay. Now, what I'm going to say is the reason that you're thinking that way and feeling that way is because you're still trying to fix your dog. You don't know that you are. You don't believe that you are, but you are. And it's something we all do, right? It's not unusual. It's very commonplace. And we go through that in stages. We come back to that over and over again, even as we traverse through the partnership stages, right? It's not like a one and done. It's not like oh yeah, my thinking and my mindset and my heart and all that is like so perfectly aligned with my intention of honoring my dog and our process and all that I'm good now. That's not how it goes. As we move through our evolution on our journey to become brilliant partners, we unpeel layers of that, right? And so there's layers of understanding and the depth of understanding. And so right now, you're reaching a new layer, right? You're ready to have another breakthrough here, right? You're ready to say, oh, yep, there it is. I realize that I'm thinking that I'm not doing something right. My dog's not doing something right. Something needs to change. I need to do something different because she's not fixed yet. Do you see where I'm going with that? Does that make sense? And so that's not how it works. That isn't it, right? And it's okay that you haven't seen that yet. You know what I mean? Because it just comes. It's like layers and layers, like an onion, you know. And so with your dog, and I'm looking. Let me go back to your specific things. And so when she goes to the vet, so the very language here, like the very language, you know, I've tried giving her massages and talking to her. It didn't help. I've kept her safe, calm, and happy without exposing her. It didn't work. You see what I'm saying? And so what I want you to consider is that, to use your words, it did work. It is working. Right? It is. It's right. It's working as we speak. She is better. You are better. It is. You just have different expectations, right? Your expectations have changed because you have seen your progress, you have seen your baby steps, you have seen your partnership grow and expand. And now you're up against, you're like leaning into your comfort zone bubble, right? You're up against like, yeah, but right? It should be different. It should be better. We should have more progress. She should already be okay. Like, why can't she see that I have her back and that she can trust me and all the things? Like, she should be able to see this by now. You know what I mean? And so you're leaning in. So hold that. You know, this is an opportunity for you to hold that discomfort for a little bit and breathe through it and understand that you are changed and she is changed. Okay. And that's good. And if going to the vet is a stressful environment and circumstance for her, that's okay. Right? That's not something that we want to fix. That's something that we want to support, right? So we want to support
that in all the ways that we have to support that, right? In all the ways. And we have, I know we have quite a bit about that in the help doc, all the ways. And so all the, making arrangements, how you go into the vet, where all the things, right? How they handle her, what they do, like all that. We have so many things that you're empowered to change about how your dog is handled. Which vet you take her to if they're not cooperative, right? So all those things, how to breathe through, how to be an excellent role model. If she needs to be walked, then why is walking her a problem? Just walk her around the litter room. We know part of our back to grazing protocol says moving helps reduce and process stress hormones. It's a proven fact. It's scientific. So moving is good. Why is that so I want you to examine where you're thinking. You're envisioning that she should be able to sit in the room and have strangers walk directly into her and handle her and manipulate her and do things to her and love it. Right? Most people don't do that. I mean, I don't know about you. I don't love it. I don't love going to a doctor or a dentist or someone and having that, even though I voluntarily took myself there, it doesn't mean that I love it. And it doesn't mean that I'm not uncomfortable and not stressed. But what makes it different for me is that it's consensual. I've consented to it. And the times when someone does something to, like a doctor or a professional, does something to me that I did not consent to, it's not good, right? I would have the same response that your dog or someone's dog might have. It's like, I did not consent to that. And so we want to understand that the more empowerment that we can give to our dogs and put them into situations that allow them to consent whenever possible, and to role model in some cases that this is a professional thing that we're doing here and it must be done. And I know that you're going to be fine. We're going to come out the other side, right? And so bringing those two things together in however the best way we can at where we are in our stage of partnership. But something is not going to suddenly change one day where all of a sudden your dog loves being manipulated and approached without consent. That's not likely to happen, right? But what is likely to happen is that with the following the protocols and the processes that we lay out in BPA, is that she will be more and more willing to give her consent to things because she trusts you, and she trusts you to be her advocate in more and more situations. Does that make sense? Right? And so here's just the simplest of examples. And so you guys, Sue, my dog Sue, right? She's my soul sister. She's, part of me, right? We're literally soul sisters. And, an extremely unfortunate thing happened to her a few years ago. Through a horrific series of events, she almost died. And I don't know if you read a bit of a story I sent out a couple weeks ago. And as a result of all that whole scenario, one of the residual effects of her being in such critical condition was that her pancreas shut down. And so she stopped making her own insulin. And so now she's a diabetic, like a type 1 diabetic. So she's insulin dependent. In addition to that, because it was so sudden and dramatic in her body, it was I mean, it was an extensive and deep healing process for her that took months, right? I mean, it was really serious. And as a result of that and trying to regulate her insulin, and her body was in such a hot mess, she lost her eyesight. Okay. So she went blind like within like 2 days. Like she was, she could see perfectly fine, and then she was dead blind. And fortunately, she was a candidate for lens replacement. So that's one of the side effects of being a diabetic, an uncontrolled diabetic, right? Not that we weren't trying to control her, it was just impossible at the time. So she lost her eye. So this is the backstory. Sorry, bear with me. I'm getting to the point. So she had surgery to replace her lens. So she had new lenses implanted in her eyes. She was fortunately healthy enough to go through that surgery, and was a good candidate for that. So she had that surgery done, and it worked really well. And her eyesight is brilliant. However, not only does she have to be tested for her, just like a type 1 diabetic, right? You're either on a device that you check regularly, which you still have to prick yourself. So anyway, so I have to prick her to test her blood glucose levels several times every day, plus inject her with insulin twice a day. Plus, for the rest of her life, she's on 2 types of eye drops. Okay. All right. So that's where we are. So every morning and every evening, we have a routine where I check her, her glucose. I take a blood sample and, see what we got to do about that. I feed her meal, and then I inject her insulin, and then I give her eye drops. Okay. So back to consent. All right. So we have a routine. She's extremely cooperative, right? I mean, we have it worked out. She just stands there, and I tell her, we have to inject her insulin in different places, continually moving it so she doesn't build up scar tissue, and et cetera, so the insulin gets utilized properly. So I tell her left side, right side, and she positions herself accordingly, and then I do my injection. And so she gives me consent to do that. Okay. I don't, she's free. We're in the kitchen. She just stands free. She puts herself there. I ask her to be on one side of me or the other, because I'm right-handed. So I need, she changes sides. So I could see, I'm in the same place because of the lighting. And then she just turns, she shows me her left side or her right side. Okay. And then, so she's giving me consent. Now here's the thing. Here's the detail point that I want to make. So after that, I give her eye drops. Now, she's not the fondest, eye drops are not her fondest thing. I mean, she's only on 2 eye drops. When she first had her surgery, she was on like 4 different eye drops, like 8 times a day. It was crazy, right? And it wasn't always pleasant. Like she had pain in her eyes, you know what I mean? And the drops stung her you know what I mean? And so eye drops aren't her favorite. However, I'm really patient, and I ask for her consent. And so these days, so this is like almost 4 years later, 3.5 years later, right? They're still not her favorite, but she gives me complete consent, right? But some days, she's standing there, and I put my hand out, and I hold her, like I just tip her nose up gently, and then I hold her eye open and put the drop in, right? And so sometimes when I go, I go to, like, it's just like, it's like second nature. I can barely even think about how I do it because it's so second nature. But when I do this, and I make, and I, and I tell her time for your eye drops, so she knows what the names of everything. She knows what's happening. Right. There's no surprises. And I say, okay, eye drop, and then if I go to take her chin a little, I don't really take it. I just, like kind of make that connection with her. And sometimes when I do that, she does this, like she'll just dip her head. It's really brief. And I'm going to say that most people wouldn't even notice it. It's so subtle. It's just right. But I know that she just took away her consent. And so I drop my hand and I just smile at her. I take a breath, I smile at her and I say, is it okay if we do the eye drops? And then she looks at me and I do it again and I do the eye drops. And that simple, long story to a simple example, that simple thing of allowing her the freedom and the agency to give consent for me to put her eye drops in is significant in our relationship, in our trust, right? I 100% guarantee you that it would be nothing. It would be a non-event for me to go, oh, it's okay, honey. And just stick with her and put the eye drops in when she just tips her head like that. I could easily do that. And she would be completely cooperative. She wouldn't say, oh, I didn't want you to, like, she would never do that because, hey, we're soul sisters, right? But that little thing where I allow her the freedom to give her consent is why she's so cooperative. Does that make sense? And yeah, when in the beginning there were like, she wasn't giving her consent. You know what I mean? She wasn't. She was like, what are you doing? Why are we doing this? And she was in pain and you know what I mean? All the things. And so I had to do what I had to do, but I look for those little micro moments. They're tiny. They're so tiny that an outside observer might not even see, right? But I know, right? I know what happened. I know that she dipped her head like 1 micrometer to the south instead of looking up at me with a smile. Like, I know that, like, and it was, you know what I mean? And so if you keep looking for those little moments of allowing your dogs the agency, the freedom to give consent, it goes so far. It could be, you're going to put your collar on your dog, right? And collar on, ready for your collar, and you go to, you reach out around, reach out to put it around your dog's neck, and your dog goes, and you go, oh, you're not ready. We were going to go for a walk. Would you like, you know what I mean? Like, I'd love to put your collar on so that we can go. And so often what's going to happen is our dogs are going to go, oh, well, yes, of course I want you to put my collar on. You know what I mean? And it's the intention more than anything. It's the intention of listening, right? It's that like one of those, our basic 3 needs of really listening to our dog. That is an indication that we're listening, right? Now, we could play out a scenario a different way. Let's say that, I'll just use Sue. So let's say that she ducked her head a little bit, and I said, "Oh, okay, are you ready for your eye drop?" And when she said, "Yeah, no, I don't want my eye drop today. Thank you very much." I would have to figure out what to do next. I would have to make a new choice. I have to say, well, okay, I've got to put your eye drop in. So, I may have to negotiate something with her. I may have to say, well, we've got to do your eye drops. And as soon as we do your eye drops, we can go out for a walk, right? But we've got to do the eye drops. Okay. So I would just talk to her and tell her. And I would see what kind of negotiating I could do with her. And all this takes a couple seconds. It doesn't take long. And, if she still said, yeah, no, I don't think so. Then I would have to say, well, do I have clarity about how necessary this is? Right now, in her case, it's necessary, right? She has to have the eye drops. And so that would be a yes, it's necessary. Other times I might say, well, maybe not. Maybe we don't actually need to do this right now. And so I would make another choice. So if I say, oh, yes, it's necessary, like putting your dog's collar on to go out, if you have to have a lead, whatever, right? We might say that, well, yes, that's necessary. Now from there, we say, okay, we start to step into our professional hat, our professional role. And now we say, all right, I hear you. I understand how you feel about this. And I would love for you to cooperate with me and give me your consent to do this. How about it? Right. And when we approach things with that as our intention, so many things open up with our relationship with our dog, even though we are going to have to put the eye drops in, or we're going to have to put the collar on, or we're going to have to cut the nails, whatever, right? Just allowing for those little moments, and then allowing those moments to evolve into us stepping into, maybe more deeply into a professional role. That all that can take 5-10 seconds, right? But we've stepped through layers of inviting consent, listening, and then stepping a little deeper into quickly, without drama, stepping quickly into that professional in that, all right, we've got to do this. So here's what we're going to do. All right, let's do this. Let's go. Boom, boom, right? And what happens when we have the intention of collaborating with our dogs in that way and allowing them those little micro opportunities, and along with we're not afraid to step into that professional leadership role of, well, we've got to do this, right? It's not an option not to. That when we can manage that combination and we get better and better at it, what happens is that our dogs relax and are more willing to give their consent, and they trust us more.
Thanks so much for listening. And hey, if you would like to work with me so that I can help you discover the missing pieces you need so that you and your dog can finally be happy and enjoy life together, then head on over to dancingheartsdogacademy.com and request your invitation to join us in the Brilliant Partners Academy when the doors open for the next enrollment. See you next time, and remember, a brilliant partnership with your dog makes your whole life brilliant.